What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the WMB Youth Podcast. It is Brad here. Recently, we began a new teaching series during our weekday gatherings, and that series is called Confronting Christianity. It is all about discussing some of the big, challenging questions that a lot of people have, both Christians and non-Christians, about the world's biggest faith. A lot of these questions prevent us from following Jesus, but I believe that when we dig a little deeper into these tough topics, we actually begin to see them not as roadblocks, but as signposts that point us to my man, Jesus. It's amazing. So we are recording the audio each Friday night at Senior Youth, and we're releasing it right here in podcast form on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoy our conversation, and if you ever get the chance, come and join us in person on Fridays from 7 to 9:30 for this amazing series, or if you're in Junior Youth, on Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. So with all that out of the way, here is our latest message from the series Confronting Christianity.
Cool. All right, folks. I'm here to talk to you about science and faith. Today we're on week 4 looking at this question: hasn't science disproven Christianity or religion or the idea of God or faith and spirituality in general? Hasn't it? You guys seem pretty confident. Okay, we got a yes. We got a bunch of no's. We'll see. Okay, well, I'm not going to keep you in any suspense. We're just going to skip straight to the answer. Science has not disproven Christianity because it can't, and it shouldn't. Science has not proven Christianity because it can't, and it shouldn't. The reality is that science can't do either of those things. Science can't prove that there is a God. Science can't prove that there's not a God. The reality is, science has no word to say on the matter. Now, who does this guy think he is, talking to us as if he knows anything at all? Well, my name is Ben. And many of you know me, but for those who don't, I was a leader here for some time, and I hope to return soon again. But when I'm not here, I'm doing something else. I do science. Now, am I actually a scientist? No, unfortunately, not really. No, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Instead, I work for scientists. What do I do, you might ask? Paperwork. That's right, just working in administration for the people who are actually doing science. But that doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. I did study science throughout my university career. I studied biomedical science, and in particular, aging, so I know what's happening to each and every single one of you right now. You're getting older, and I know why. No, but it's true. I absolutely love the human body. The human body is incredible, okay? And the things that it does as it gets older, it's not all bad. In fact, it's kind of cool. The body does some incredible things, but we're not going to talk to you about aging today. If you ever want to talk to me about aging, what happens to your body, what happens to the cells, why we start to look the way that we do, why we start to act the way that we do, I would love to talk to you about that, but that's not what we're doing today. Instead, we're going to talk specifically about science in general. Not biology, not chemistry, not physics, not the earth, the stars, or the moon. We're just talking about science. The idea of science. But first, let's try something. Can I get somebody to grab the lights? Thank you. Thank you. All you have to do is call it out. Okay, so this is my black box. This is my black box. I built it. I made it. It is mine. But I'm going to welcome three of you, I'm in science, not math, to come and have a look inside this box, okay? So we'll grab 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got 3 people. Now, all right, stand back there. Stand back right along here. That is perfect. Here's a card for each one of you. Now, here's the task. I'm going to ask each of you to take one of these lenses. So there's one on this side, there's one right here, and there's one on top. So it's 3 lenses. Each person take one lens, and without saying anything at all, just look inside your lens. Write down what you see, and write down what you think is inside the box. 2 things. What do you see, and what do you think it is? Now, if you find it very hard to tell, try moving away from the lens. See if you take a larger, broader view. Do you see anything different? Move around. Change your angle. Be taller. Nope. You can only look in your own. Only look in your own lens. Start writing. What do you see? What the heck is this? I'm sorry, this part of the podcast is going to be extremely boring. Okay, do we have our answers? Have we described what's inside the box? Do you have a guess? They're looking. All right, that's time. We can bring the lights back up. Give these guys a hand. All right, back behind the box. Oh, it didn't? Okay, well, just know what you wrote. All right, stand in a row, right behind the box. All right, first up, just describe what you think the object is.
It looks like a green, yellow, and red triangular prism.
Ooh, interesting. What do you think it is?
It looked red from the top. It looked like a triangular prism, and it kind of looked like a rock.
A rock? Okay. Colorful rock.
I saw an orange-ish, like, piece of watercolor paper, and it could have been a lamp.
Okay.
Like a lampshade.
Okay. So we got colorful prism. We got a couple colors rock. Okay. And we got an orange lampshade. Who's right? 1, 2, or 3?
3. Pick number 3, my lord.
Number 3, my lord. Number 3. No. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your assistance, guys. You can go sit down. Just keep your card. Sure. It's yours to keep. Okay. That was fun, wasn't it? So, we're going to return to this later, but for now, we're going to do something in science that's called a peer review. The peer review process is where you get other people to look at your work and figure out whether it makes any sense. Okay? It's a very, very important part of science to make sure that people aren't telling lies. So for your peer review, you're going to get in your groups to have a quick discussion on these 2 questions. What is science? And what is faith? Find your groups. You've got 4 minutes now.
A few moments later.
All right. I don't know if that was 4 minutes. I do admin work, not timekeeping. Okay, let's bring it back. We got 2 questions here. First question, what is science? Who wants to give it a go?
Science is the study of things.
That was beautifully articulate. Thank you. Does anybody else have an idea about what is science?
I will talk on behalf of our group, and we thought that science is kind of like the study of things and many things, and having like an understanding of things. And it comes more so from your brain and like from proof and knowledge, whereas faith comes from your heart and also from your brain.
All right. So you got a bit of science. We got a bit of faith in there. Does anybody else want to do science or maybe faith? Science, we got it.
The study of our world and the objects around us.
All right, world and objects around us. One more.
Okay, so science is the study, of the world around us and also ourselves and just all physical things or kind of things that have proof or statistics relating to them, like gravity or concepts like that. While faith is more, can't use your senses, you don't taste it, smell it, or anything. It's more of a trust and a feeling in your gut. And it can't really be proven because it's more have to do with how you feel and what you think is real, and there's no really statistics behind it. It's more trusting.
Okay, awesome. Yeah?
One is quantifiable, one is not.
Ooh, there we go, quantifiable, and one is not. Okay, let's look to faith. What is faith? Anybody here want faith? Talk about what is faith? Okay, somebody's insisting.
Hi, okay. Well, if we look to Scripture, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the proof of what we do not see.
Do we have a reference for that? For science.
Hebrews 11:1. Hebrews 11:1.
All right, Hebrews 11:1. Sweet. Any other ideas on what faith is, or does that pretty much knock it out? Eden?
You don't see it with your eyes, you see it with your soul.
Hold up, we need snaps for that. She copyrights that. Maybe be sure to put that in the podcast in the reference section. Okay. So what is science? You guys pretty well got this down, but a very specific definition, a way of knowing and experiencing reality through what we can observe, measure, and test. Okay? To be scientific, a theory must be falsifiable. Falsifiable means that in principle, you could prove it wrong. It's possible to be proved wrong. So there's not a single concept in science that is scientific unless there's the possibility it could be wrong. And finally, it's primarily concerned with the natural world. So like we heard, it's the earth, everything in it, everything not in it. Richard Feynman, one of my absolute favorite scientists ever. He's a physicist and absolutely phenomenal person, a bit eccentric, and that's why I like him. He says, if you are going to teach people to make observations, do science, you should show them something wonderful can come from them. I learned then what science was about. It was patience. If you looked and you watched and you paid attention, you got a great reward from it. Although possibly not every time. So how do we do science? It's a way, that's the wrong direction. How do I do this? How do we do science? First, we have to listen to or read research. Okay? That's the very first thing. You have to listen with your ears or read with whatever you read with. Then you theorize or hypothesize. So you've read what other people's ideas are. Now you start to think about new questions. What else could you do with that research and that knowledge? Next, you do experiments or observations. Not all science is experiments that you create. Sometimes you just need to go and watch and hope you find. Finally, you analyze. You look at the data that you've collected and you try to make some conclusions about it. And finally, the most important part, especially if you want to continue receiving funding and do more research, you need to publish or disseminate your findings. That means that you need to share it with the world. You haven't done science until you've shared it. That's actually, that's why funding groups only want you to get funding if you do publications, because you haven't actually done the job until it's been shared. So what is faith? Faith is a little bit different, and this is the definition I've got for it. It's a way of knowing and experiencing reality through a system of belief. To have faith in an idea, you must trust that it's true with or without tangible evidence. One way or another, you trust that it's true. It's primarily concerned with theoretical concepts or the spiritual world. And when I say theoretical concepts, I also include some areas of science. There are some pieces of science that do require a bit of faith, mostly in theoretical physics, in fact. Theoretical physics is mostly loony bin stuff. It's fantastic. You'll find me in the loony bin any day. But here we go. Here's this definition from the Bible, from Hebrews. It's the one that we had read earlier, so you're right on point, but I'm going to read it again because there's a bit more to it than just the first verse. It says, "What is faith? It is the confident assurance that what we hope for is going to happen. It is the evidence of things we cannot yet see." God gave his approval to people in the old days because of their faith. By faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command, that what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. You see, science is primarily concerned with what you can actually see. Observation is the first step after research. But even if you haven't done the research, you can start to do some science just by looking around. How do we do faith? You might recognize this. First, we listen to and read testimony. That means that in order to have faith in something, whether it's a religion or an idea or a movement or humanity in general, in order to have faith in that idea, you need to have heard it from somebody first. In Christianity, we use the term testimony a lot to refer to what God has done in your life previously, and we use that as something that builds our faith. So we understand it, and we trust it because it came from somebody, but it can be a whole host of ideas when it comes to faith. You hear it first. Then you can challenge or accept those ideas. So this is when you have to be critical. Use your critical mind and think, does that sound true to me? Does that sound likely to me? Can I trust the source, the person who's telling me this? It sounds unbelievable, but if the source wouldn't lie to me, maybe there's something to it. Use your critical thinking to figure out whether it's something you accept or not. Finally, if you do choose to accept it, you're going to live in light of that new reality. If you think people are generally good and that people default to being good, you'll probably treat people well and you'll expect them to treat you good. If you're somebody who believes that people are generally bad and trying to hurt you, you'll probably live like that too. You might treat people poorly, you might have a fear of other people, but in some way, that thing that you believe is going to impact the way you choose to live, or that you just live even if you don't choose it. Over time, you might reevaluate that faith. So don't just take it the first time, but continue thinking about it. You've started living it out. As you live your faith, has it turned out to be reliable, trustworthy? Don't just accept it at the beginning and give it and then not think about it again. Keep reevaluating this thing that you trust. And finally, tell other people about it. If you believe that the world is generally good, tell people that you think people are good. Share good stories and examples of other people being good. Did you see somebody save a puppy like in a video or something? Share that video. Show people the good things that other people do. There's way better videos than that, but anyway, that's an example. Both science and faith are the same thing. They're a philosophy. That's actually all that they are. So if you ever think that getting a philosophy degree would be useless or silly, just understand that whether you go to seminary or you become an astrophysicist, you've become a philosopher. There is a reason why we call experts in their fields PhDs. They are doctors of philosophy. Every single one of them. If somebody has a PhD, they are a philosopher by definition. Philosophy is just a way of knowing reality. So science has a philosophy that governs it, and that is that we look at the observable world, the observable universe, and we make decisions about it based on what we see. Faith, we take experiences in our own reality, and we make decisions based on whether we trust those experiences or not. It's our ways of knowing how reality works. Isaac Asimov, again, one of my favorite, this guy's actually a writer. He's a science fiction writer, but he's written some of the science fiction that sounds the closest to actual reality that we've ever seen. It's incredible. He says, science does not purvey absolute truth. Purvey means it does not share absolute truth. Nobody does science to find absolute truth. We've already said it really can't do that. It's limited in what it can find. But science is a mechanism. It's a way of trying to improve your knowledge of nature. It's a system for testing your thoughts against the universe and seeing whether they match. So here's two big words. At the end of tonight, you're going to be philosophers in training, ontology and epistemology, philosophers' favorite words. This is where you start. If you're going to do any kind of research in any kind of field, you need to be able to, with certainty, answer these two questions. Ontology is concerned with how do I know what is reality? And epistemology is how can I know what I know? How can you even know it at all? Okay, so ontology and epistemology, let's do a little peer review. Get into your groups and answer these two questions. What is something you absolutely know to be true, and how do you know it's... I think something happened. It scaled weird, because that definitely said true. Okay, anyway. How do you know it's true? Okay, get in your groups, answer those two questions. 4 minutes, probably.
A few moments later.
All right. We're going to call that 4 minutes. I wear a watch on my hand, but I don't know what it says. Okay, so we're going to dive into those two questions. What is something you absolutely know to be true? You know it. You know it's true. Brad's got one. What is it? What do you know is true?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing is true. Or do you know absolutely nothing? How do you know? How do you know absolutely nothing? Okay, do we have a... Yeah?
I'm right here, right now.
You are right here, right now. You absolutely know that. How do you know that?
Because I'm right here, right now. What if you're in the Matrix? But I'm here. What if you're in the Matrix?
He is here because he's here. Circular logic. Okay, we're going to go over here. What else do you know? What do you absolutely know to be true?
I exist. Because according to some guy named Rene Descartes, if you have a conscious, then at somewhere, even if it's not in this universe, you do exist because you can think for yourself, and you're thinking right now.
I think, therefore I am. We found the philosopher, guys. Okay, so, but, okay, you say you absolutely know that's true. How?
Because I can think right now, which means that if I'm thinking right now, I exist.
But do you know Rene Descartes personally? And do you know he would not lie to you?
I do know him personally. He's actually my brother.
We found the liar. Okay. All right. Who else absolutely knows something to be true?
I was born.
Okay. How do you know that happened?
The birth certificate.
So because you see it written on a piece of paper from an official government, you believe it's true. Fascinating. What do you know to be true?
I also exist because I said so.
You exist because you said so. Guys, y'all are having existential crises in here. How do you know that you exist? It's just because you said so?
Said so because I said so.
So who are you that we can trust you?
You can't, but I can because I said so.
But you can trust yourself. Okay, we got one more. We're going to pop over here. I know there's so many good ones, folks.
I'm going to go with Brad and say literally nothing. For all I know, we're in the Matrix, so.
So literally nothing. Okay. We could be in the Matrix. One more. What do we absolutely know to be true?
Hi. Wait, can we both go eventually? I know that Jesus.
All right,
Wait. Okay. This might be wrong, but that technically we can know that Jesus changed our lives because if we meet him, then we act differently and we think differently and we feel differently. Like, that has to be something in a way.
Yeah, I know that Jesus loves me because he died for me and he changed my life.
Okay, those are both very good. I heard some ifs in there. Ifs give you conditions, and if those conditions are not met, can be untrue. How do we know any of these things that we know? All right, guys? Both science and faith are attempting to tackle these problems. They're not the only ones. There are other ways of knowing out there that are also trying to tackle these problems of what do we know about reality and how do we actually know that that is true and that we can trust it. Generally, there are three ways that people know anything at all. They experience it firsthand. Somebody tells them about it. Or third, you randomly come up with it all on your own, except that very rarely happens for anybody as you get older because everything's just a composition of what you've heard and what you've experienced. Only babies have truly original thoughts. Eventually, every original thought is gone, and all that we're left with is what we're experiencing and what somebody tells us. We can't know anything besides those two ways. So through science, we learn what we know through what we observe, and through faith, we learn what we know because we believe it. So the scientific method is a legitimate method of exploring the world, the created universe, and both Christianity and science can agree to that. Both look at the universe as being created or made at some point, and so Christians should be fairly confident that a scientific method is an appropriate way to observe things and to learn things. Science has done some absolutely remarkable things. I'm not going to get into them. I had a whole bunch of examples, and Brad told me, cut them, because it's so many, and I love science, and I won't stop shutting up about them. I won't stop talking. I won't shut up. I can't talk. But here's one. Here's one. Does anybody in this room know how big the universe actually is? Isn't it always growing? Mm-mm. We talk about that. We talk about this ever-expanding universe, this eventually collapsing universe. How big actually is it? Scientists have estimated, they've made a guess, an educated guess, but a guess. They believe it is 90 billion light years wide. But that's just what we can see. They actually believe the universe is far bigger than we could ever hope to see, because when it started expanding, it began expanding faster than the speed of light. The only way that we see the stars, galaxies, anything else is because that light eventually reached the Earth. And we saw it. There are stars and galaxies that are so far away, their light will never reach the Earth. This means that there is an entire universe beyond the universe that we will never actually know because we are whooshing away this direction faster than the light can go to reach us. So it will always expand, but there's parts that we'll never see. It's massive. Okay. Faith is concerned with all the stuff that we can't see. Isn't it so cool that we actually have a way to know the world even when observations fail? Even when science reaches a hard limit. There's no light, there's no seeing. We can't do science in that space. Faith does some pretty incredible things. Oh, sorry, this is the universe. Next. These are people. I'm more concerned with people. Okay, I love people. I love doing science, but I love doing science on people. People are incredible. Have you ever heard the term faith in humanity? What does faith in humanity mean? Shout out an answer. Sorry, podcast. We don't think everyone is worthless. Yeah. We believe in some part of the human condition that we are inherently good. It's this idea that we think people are good, but what does good even mean? The thing about faith in humanity is that we can't actually prove that faith in humanity to do the right thing is actually based on anything. All that we can look to is stories that we've been told about what other people somewhere else have done, and we believe those stories are true, and so we generally think, well, people seem to be good. There are bad people in the world, and sometimes when we hear stories about what bad people do, we lose our faith in humanity's ability to do good things. The reality is, one way or the other, all you're doing is hearing stories. You're hearing testimony of the way people are and making decisions about what you think humanity is like. That is 100% a faith-based exercise, and there's no scientific answer to it. You believe we're good, you believe we aren't. Faith gives us a way to understand that question of the goodness of people. It gives us a way to process the experiences that we hear about other people. Faith is required in order to actually know anything about the condition of the human. But that's not enough. We so desperately want to know what is 100% true. Perhaps it's because we live in a society that has such a high value in science and predictability, and so we've decided that faith is less important, and so we want to know what's true. But regardless of that, regardless of the way that we're in society, it's actually always been the case. Here we have John 20, 24 to 29. This is a story of a disciple named Thomas. Thomas has the unfortunate nickname for all of eternity, Doubting Thomas, because he doubted once. So if you ever think that your mistakes have labeled you for life, think of Thomas. He's 2,000 years separated, we still call him a doubter. But here's the story. So one of the 12 disciples, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, that's not how we know him, was not with the others when Jesus came. They told him, "We have seen the Lord." They told him. But he replied, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands. Put my fingers in them, ew, and place my hand in the wound in his..." This guy's sick. But anyway, he wants to know. He wants to touch, feel, absolutely certain that this is Jesus who he watched die. 8 days later, Jesus lets him think about that for a week. 8 days later, the disciples were together again, and this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but suddenly, as before, Jesus was standing among them. "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here, here, at my hands, and look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound in my side. Don't be faithless anymore. Believe." Don't be faithless anymore. Believe. Jesus was willing to meet Thomas where he was at in his demanding for absolute proof that Jesus is alive. Jesus acquiesced to that. He said, sure, I will prove to you I'm alive, but be faithless no more, believe. Thomas cries out, my Lord and my God. And Jesus told him, you believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. Thomas demanded proof. Jesus gave it to him. But he said, you only believe me because you see this. Blessed are those who don't get to see this. That's you and me. Thomas got an opportunity you and I will never, ever have. He got to sit with the living, resurrected Jesus in his day, alive on the earth. But you and I have something Thomas will never have. The opportunity to believe that he did it. So look beyond the creation story. The Bible is full of fantastical, bizarre, and frankly unbelievable things. Not the least of which is the resurrection of a tortured and brutally murdered person, Jesus. But if we can't believe that, then the rest doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what you believe about the beginning of the earth, creation, and all the fantastical things that happen throughout Scripture. If you do not believe that Jesus rose from the dead, it doesn't matter. But if you can believe that, then the mystery of the rest of it becomes easier to grasp through faith. So here's the deal. God loves you so much that he can't bear the thought of not being with you forever. That's the whole reason you were created. Sin and disobedience broke that purpose, but God was determined to bring us back. Not through force, not through grandiosity, displays of power, but in the humble figure of Jesus. God made it so that we would understand him best. He knew we would need something tangible to grasp the intangible. Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. He existed before anything was created and is supreme over all creation. That's Colossians 1:15. Christ made God visible. That's something the scientific method can't do. It even says it can't do that. It doesn't try to do that. But faith, that's what faith is for. Science is a spectacular way of observing the created universe, and I will talk about that for absolutely hours. But I understand that God designed it. But science doesn't bring me closer to God just because it's science. In everything that I've done, I've never found proof of God. I haven't. I've done 10 years of science. But it doesn't matter. Let me give you one more story. This is a watch. How do you know it's a watch? You'll just have to trust me. This watch is made of wood. That's a fact, probably. Here's the thing. This watch is just a tool. It can tell time, kind of. It's a little slow. But it's supposed to be able to tell time. I can study it, I can read it, I can learn how it works, but it's just a watch until it's not. This watch was given to me by my wife while we were dating. The back of it says something cheesy like, I don't even remember what it says. Love you every minute, every hour, and every day. You guys are going, to a watch. It's the meaning behind it. All of a sudden, this watch becomes a memory. This watch is a gift from someone who loves me. It hasn't lost its initial purpose, but now it's a lot more special knowing that. Science has helped me to better understand what I believe to be a gift of God from a Father who loves me. And that is enough for me to trust the science and my faith. So what's in this ever-loving box? Drum roll, please. Ah! No, that's fine. It's just a shape. I painted a bunch of different colors. It's a square-based triangular prism. It's a right-angle triangle. There's a lot of ways to describe this, but we got orange paper lamp, we got red and green rock, and we got a triangle, a triangular prism, many colors, good for you. Here's the thing. In order to actually know what was inside this box, you had to have a look through all of the lenses. So you didn't somehow. I think I had it positioned wrong, but anyway. You're supposed to only be able to see it if you look through all. 2 of the 3 had no idea what they were looking at. It was a simple thing. It's not complicated. It's not a trick. But the reality is you need to see from every side to know the truth. And that's what I want to leave with you today. Science has not proven Christianity because it can't and it shouldn't. Science has not proven Christianity because it can't and it shouldn't. That's for faith.
Well, everyone, thanks for listening in to the WMB Youth Podcast today. I hope this discussion was interesting, challenging, and that it encouraged you to consider the ways of Jesus. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to keep the discussion going. We look forward to the next conversation together, and we are praying for you as you live out what it means to follow Jesus each and every day. Come on back next week. Have an amazing day.